Welcome to the 119th regular convocation of Memorial University of Newfoundland, coming to you from the Arts and Culture Centre in Brook. Approximately 1,000 degrees will be conferred in the 4 sessions of convocation this fall, and approximately 60 of them at the session in Brook. In this first session, taking place on Thursday, October 4th, Memorial will confer the degrees of Bachelor of Arts Honors, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science Honors, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Nursing, Bachelor of Business Administration Honors, Bachelor of Business Administration, Bachelor of Education, Primary Elementary, Master of Arts, Master of Education, and Master of Science in Boreal Ecosystems and Agricultural Sciences. Also at this session, an honorary Doctor of Laws degree will be awarded to gerontologist, author, and Memorial University of Newfoundland alumna Anne Martin Matthews. Also, retired Professor Dr. Olaf Jansen from the School of Humanities and Social Sciences at Grenfell Campus will be presented as Professor Emeritus.
This session of convocation is being presided over by Dr. Susan Dyer Knight, Chancellor of Memorial University. The university procession is led by the University Marshal, Mr. Bert Riggs, retired from the QE2 Library, and Marshals Krista Howell and Mary Secord of Grenfell Campus. The dignitaries taking part in today's ceremony include Dr. Susan Dyer Knight, Chancellor, the Honorable Jerry Byrne, Minister of Fisheries and Land Resources, Dr. Jerry Kechanowski, President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Noreen Golfman, Provost and Vice President Academic, Dr. Jeff Keshen, Vice President Grenfell Campus, Mr. Glenn Blackwood, Vice President Marine Institute, Mr. Kent Decker, Vice President Administration and Finance, Ms. Iris Petton, Chair of the Board of Regents, Dr. Anne Martin Matthews, Honorary Graduand, Dr. Holly Pike, Orator, Dr. Olaf Johnson, Professor Emeritus. And
the mace, a symbol of the authority vested in the university, will be carried by Ms. Nicole Miller of the Registrar's Office at Grenfell Campus. Convocation will be officially open when the mace is placed on the table in front of the presiding officer.
the music for Convocation is provided by pianist Dr. Gary Graham.
We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is in traditional Mi'kmaq territory, and we acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of the Beothuk, the Mi'kmaq, the Innu, and the Inuit of this province. Please be seated. Convocation open, and I'd like to call on our President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Gary Kaczynowski, to address convocation.
Chancellor, Chair of the Board of Regents, honorable members, members of the Board of Regents, members of the Senate and faculty, members of the graduating class, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 2018 Fall Convocation for Grenfell Campus Memorial University. We're so pleased that you've joined us for what is always a special time in the life of a university, a time when we celebrate the success of our students. So, of course, a special welcome and congratulations to each of you, our graduating students. I know that your parents and family and friends and professors all played supporting roles in your success, but make no mistake, ultimately it was your dedication, hard work, and talent that brought you here today. So congratulations on your accomplishments. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in congratulating all of our graduating students. Joining us on stage this morning, representing the provincial government, is the Honourable Jerry Byrne, Minister of Fisheries and Land Resources. Minister, on behalf of Memorial University, thank you for joining us here today to celebrate the success of Grenfell Campus and our graduates. I would also like to acknowledge and welcome Iris Petton, Chair of our Board of Regents of Memorial, and a dedicated and passionate supporter of our university. All of our Board of Regent members volunteer their time and contribute significantly to our university, and a number of them are here today. Would you please join me in welcoming and acknowledging our regents and our minister? This morning, we also welcome a special individual who will soon join the ranks of those who have received the university's highest honor, the honorary doctorate degree. I'm speaking of Dr. Anne Martin Matthews, a Memorial alumni and Canada's unparalleled leader and champion of research on aging. Dr. Martin Matthews served as Scientific Director of the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, Institute of Aging, from 2004 to 2011, and is an international leader in research on social gerontology. For her extensive research contributions to the field of gerontology, Dr. Martin Matthews will receive an honorary Doctor of Laws degree this morning, and you will hear more about and from her a little later. We are also pleased to recognize a retired member of faculty, Dr. Olaf Johnson, who was recently accorded the distinguished title Professor Emeritus by Memorial University's Senate and Board of Regents. Our professors emeriti have given their academic, scholarly, and professional lives in service to Memorial University's mission. They have inspired generations of students and helped build this fine institution. On behalf of the entire Memorial University community, I offer sincere congratulations to Dr. Jansen, and you will be hearing a little more about him later as well. Ladies and gentlemen, as president of Memorial University for the past 8 years, I've been honored to personally connect with this campus and this community, to experience the positive impact of important and strategic initiatives and investments at Grenfell, and share each of these successes with our extended community here on the West Coast. There is so much to be proud of as we look back at more than 4 decades of university education on the West Coast of Newfoundland. Grenfell's success is due in no small part to the passion and the dedication of all those who work at Grenfell, and I thank each and every one of them. In particular, I want to acknowledge Vice President Dr. Jeff Keshen. Since coming to Grenfell, he has worked tirelessly to build and strengthen community relationships, to improve opportunities and experiences for students, and to meet the needs of the entire Grenfell community. The accomplishments at Grenfell in the past number of years have put the campus in an exceedingly solid position with academic program growth, along with infrastructure improvements, enhancements to the research profile, and public engagement opportunities, just to name a few developments. And of course, the high caliber of Grenfell students is a key part of its success. As then Premier Frank Moores said in a banquet celebrating the opening of Grenfell Campus in 1975, and I quote, "Universities are judged by their students, and reputations are built by the young people who pass through its doors." Unquote. And what a great reputation Grenfell Campus has, and what a wonderful group of students we have graduating here today. With continuing strong enrollment at Grenfell, including substantial increases in international enrollment from some 40 countries, we know that we can expect great things in the future with the continued implementation of Grenfell's Vision 2020, a strategic plan to attract and retain a diverse and growing community of enthusiastic students, faculty, and staff who choose the unique environment of Grenfell Campus for their education and their development. Through all of this, Grenfell's impact and reach will only continue to grow. And of course, its future success will continue to build on the strength and integral connections that exist between this university campus, this city, and this region. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank our community and municipal leaders and other partners for your unwavering support of Grenfell Campus again this year, and through that, your support for all of Memorial University. Memorial is focused on meeting the needs of our students, developing innovative living and learning spaces, building and renewing appropriate 21st century infrastructure for teaching, research, and public engagement, and making a difference in our communities. Now, more than ever, support from all our partners is vital. Only by working together can we ensure that investments and initiatives help us achieve our important mandate, fostering student success and the social, cultural, and economic development of our great province. Ladies and gentlemen, our university's unique origin, our vision, mission, and core values paint a picture of who we were, who we are, and what we aspire to become. The university embodies the aspirations of those who founded Memorial University College in 1925 to be a living legacy to those who paid the ultimate price for our freedom in the First World War and in subsequent conflicts. A living legacy dedicated to the advancement of our society through education and the discovery of new knowledge. A legacy that the Danger Tree sculpture on Grenfell Campus so rightly commemorates. Graduates, you are part of this legacy and this aspiration. You walked into this hall today as students who have completed the requirements for your degrees. You will leave as alumni of Memorial University, joining a family of more than 90,000 strong. You've earned the rights and the privileges associated with your degree, and now this is your time to take to heart the responsibilities that also come with your degree and make your mark in Newfoundland and Labrador, across the country, and around the globe. Best wishes to each of you as you leave here today to begin the next adventure in your lives. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me once again in congratulating our graduates. Well, don't they come up?
Thank you, Dr. Kaczynowski. I'd like now to call upon the Vice President, Grenfell Campus, Dr. Jeff Cashin, to address Convocation.
Madam Chancellor, Madam Chair of the Board of Regents, Honorable Minister, Mr. President, members of the Board of Regents, members of the Senate and faculty, members of the graduating class, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, students, for arriving at this very special and jubilant day. Each one of you brings your own story to this momentous occasion, but a common thread is that it included struggles, stress, and I'm sure at times some self-doubt. Feel a well-deserved pride, a deep pride for this achievement that portends so many future possibilities. No doubt, the joy that many of you feel today also relates to the fact that this was not a journey that you undertook on your own. That along the way were family and friends who deeply cared about your well-being and who yearned for your success. Many are here, mentors, source of inspiration, pillars of support. They were the ones to whom you turned to seek advice, to hear words of encouragement, to reinforce your resolve, and who made it known that they'd always be by your side and, above all, prioritize your well-being and your happiness. As you are about to embark on exciting new paths, I ask that you pause to reflect just a little bit on the importance of personal connection, understanding, support, and genuine care, and how those qualities can alter lives and even communities for the better. They are values that Grenfell seeks to project and to instill and are deeply rooted in Corner Brook and the broader region. Because of our commitment to personalized learning, you know many of the professors here today, those who may have sparked within you a passion to follow a certain academic path, who helped you find your way, to realize your abilities, and feel tremendous pride in you for the achievement that we celebrate today. They imparted not only knowledge, but more importantly, appreciation of what education is really about, namely about widening and deepening our understanding of and ability to cope with different and often challenging situations, and to appreciate and to respect diverse viewpoints. In recent years, our means and our ability to communicate with one another has rapidly and profoundly changed. Today's technology readily links us to people around the world, not only to hear, but also to see them, no matter how remote the location. But are we really as personally connected and committed to understanding one another? How many of us today compose a thoughtful letter rather than shooting off a text or tweet? Do not more of our news sources take sides and often vilify opponents? As those of you graduating today know, education is about appreciating the complexity of our surroundings, that truth has many sides, and that every successful community, from local to global, finds strength from embracing rather than fearing diversity. As our president said, our university, Memorial, was established nearly a century ago to mend a community shattered by a First World War, sparked by suspicions, rivalries, prejudice, that in this province claimed the lives of 10% of men of military age. Today, you graduate from a place that visionary people established as a living memorial to create a better future, so that the carnage visited upon a past generation not have been suffered in vain. And more than 4 decades ago, that mission to uplift, to advanced education, came to the West Coast with a new campus named for the British doctor, Sir Wilfrid Grenfell, who dedicated his life at tremendous personal risk to bring medical care to forgotten souls suffering in isolated communities. Grenfell Campus embodies that spirit of building community. Our small classes enable professors to personally know and to inspire students as individuals, reflecting the maxim so beautifully expressed by the Irish poet William Butler Yeats, who said that education is not the filling of a pail, but it is the lighting of a fire. Great teaching in all aspects of life instills not only the love of learning, but it touches our souls. Many of my favorite movies are about teachers. Compelling stories about incredibly dedicated people whose personal commitment to others transformed futures. Those like the character John Keating, portrayed by the late, great Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society. An English teacher at a stultifying boys' prep school, Keating stirred young men to pursue their passion, even if it meant challenging unbending authority, a belief for which he ultimately sacrificed his job. In one famous scene, he meets his students for the first time. He gathers them around an old wooden cabinet containing trophies, an old sepia-toned photograph stretching back to the time the school was founded. Look at their faces. Look at their faces, he implores his students. They're not that different from you. If you listen real close, you can hear them whisper their legacy. Carpe diem. Seize the day. Like all of you, make your lives extraordinary. Beyond the class, beyond the community of the classroom, is the wider one in which we live. Corner Brook and environs projects the warm feeling of being part of a place, a community comprised of people who are truly invested. I have seen and I have felt this at numerous events, including at many convocations which I have been privileged to attend. Events that mean not only a great deal to the family and friends of those who are walking across the stage, but to the entire community. Like any place else I've been, public officials attend, as you can see, and the press takes notice. As you are about to embark on new adventures, remember how the bonds based in personal connection, care, support, that we strive to have Grenfell exemplify and that we see demonstrated daily in this remarkable community and province inspired and gave you strength. That such qualities be a guide to you to build personal resilience, joyous relationships, and close-knit, compassionate places. Today brings excitement. It brings anticipation, though also certainly some trepidation about what lies ahead. Take heart from the fact that no matter how good a poker face someone projects, all of us experience self-doubt and setbacks. Just like the essay that you may have to rewrite or the test that you perhaps blew, resolve yourself to always keep moving forward no matter how strong the headwind. Consider the experiences of the late, great South African leader, Nelson Mandela. Arrested for battling the scourge of racial apartheid, Mandela spent over a quarter century locked away in a tiny 50-square-foot damp prison cell with straw as a mattress, let out only to break rocks into gravel, refusing to give up, and driven by the mantra, not to judge me by my successes, but by how many times I fell down and got back up again, he became a symbol for all South Africans, transforming from prisoner to president, and resolute about creating a tolerant, pluralistic society. From decades of brutal prejudice and racial violence, he proclaimed, of all things, that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to transform, to change the world. Take from today the determination to discover, to understand, to sympathize. Remember how the support and compassion of others helped you reach this point. Strive always to be a little bit more kind than clever, more empathetic than judgmental, more sincere than cynical. To close, permit me to turn to popular culture, naming to the first, and to my mind, still the best, reboot in MCU's reboot of Spider-Man. In an ultimately prophetic scene, the wise and caring Uncle Ben counsels the teenage Peter Parker, then perhaps, like many of you, struggling to fully appreciate his newfound abilities, by quoting, likely unwittingly, from the great French philosopher Voltaire, who purportedly said, "With great power comes great responsibility." You may not be Spider-Man, but your education has provided you with the power of knowledge, including the caring personal connections that help fuel your journey to this momentous day can spark profoundly wonderful things for so many others, a responsibility that I hope each and every one of you fully embrace. Finally, now as proud Grenfell alumni, as part of our extended family, I ask that you keep in touch, to let us know how you're doing. We truly care. And to wherever life ultimately takes you, share a little bit of this special, wonderful place, Grenfell, Corner Brook, Western Newfoundland, to make your new worlds so very special. Congratulations, class of 2018. Feel the joy and the pride in you in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keshen. And now we shall proceed to the conferring of your degrees. I have just a little request to make to those folks who came to witness your wonderful accomplishments today, up there behind you. I'm going to ask that as the candidates come across the stage, of course, one of them is going to be yours, and I'm going to ask that you withhold your applause until all of the candidates in any particular degree have crossed the stage, unless there's some special mention of something. And then you can raise the roof. And to you wonderful folks who I get to meet, everyone, best job in the world, I'm going to ask you to have a look at the stage. I've never measured it, but it's not very long. And this is your path from one part of your life to an exciting new part. And here is the divisi. Here is the threshold over which you pass. And enjoy that. Don't hurry it. And the other thing I'm going to suggest to you is that while you'll have many external things to remember this quite extraordinary day, video, pictures, and things that your parents will have given you or written you or your friends and so forth. I'd like you to think about capturing for yourself some internal recollection of today, something special, so that you'll notice, just take notice of everything that is going on, and have one or two special things that if you don't take this care to notice, may just fly. And that's something that you can take out for forever. And you know, there is a reason that we make a big deal of this day. We dress up, and we collect, we travel, we have special food, all of those special things, because it is about you the whole day. The whole reason that Grenfell and Memorial exists is for you. And this is your extraordinary moment in that time, and we hope you enjoy every bit of it. So I'll see you up here now in a minute or two.
Madam Chancellor, in the name of the Senate of the University, I present to you the candidates for the undergraduate degrees approved for the session of Convocation. I have certified to the Senate that these candidates have fulfilled all the requirements pertaining to the degrees. I therefore request that you admit them thereto.
I will now admit the candidates to these degrees and confer upon them all the rights, responsibilities, and privileges which belong thereto. I call upon them on the hearing of their names to present themselves before me to assume the hood appropriate to the degree.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts Honors, candidate in absentia.
Admitted in absentia. You do clap there.
For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Kathleen Cody Hayden.
Kathleen Cody Hayden is from St. Augustine, Florida.
Whitney Helena Hines.
Whitney Helena Hines is from Stephenville.
Andrew Richard King.
Andrew Richard King is from Conception Bay South.
Sarah Adrienne Levita.
Sarah Adrienne Levita is from Corner Brook.
Kara Courtney Ogden.
Kara Courtney Ogden is from Ombrie.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science Honors, Britton William Dempsey.
Britton William Dempsey is from Halifax, Nova Scotia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Science, candidates in absentia.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Nursing, Heidi Abbott.
Heidi Abbott is from Corner Brook.
Samaria Jacqueline Balram.
Samaria Jacqueline Ballroom is from St. John's.
Michelle Andrea Sherray.
Michelle Andrea Sherray is from Kedgwick River, New Brunswick.
Alicia Connors.
Alicia Connors is from Labrador City.
Beverly Dawn Wheeler.
Beverly Dawn Wheeler is from Corner Brook.
Rhonda Joyce Witten.
Rhonda Joyce Witten is from Corner Brook.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Business Administration, honors. Stacy Elizabeth Brown.
Stacy Elizabeth Brown is from Appleton.
For the degree of Bachelor of Business Administration, Haley Barbara Ann Parsons.
Haley Barbara Ann Parsons is from Paradise.
Shaheen Amir.
Shaheen Amir is from Corner Brook.
Chelsea Michelle Stacy.
Chelsea Michelle Stacy is from Mount Pearl.
Travis Wayne White.
Travis Wayne White is from Comfort Cove, Newstead.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Bachelor of Education, Primary Elementary. Sarah Robin Joanne Connolly.
Sarah Robin Joanne Connolly is from Corner Brook.
Brianna June Mullins.
Brianna June Mullins is from Corner Brook.
Sorry. Stephanie Marie O'Keefe.
Stephanie Marie O'Keefe is from Stephenville.
Kirsten Power.
Kirsten Power is from Corner Brook.
Emily Joy Avis Robinson.
Emily Joy Avis Robinson is from Middle Arm.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
Madam Chancellor, in the name of the Senate of the University, I present to you the candidates for the graduate degrees approved for this session of Convocation. I have certified to the Senate that these candidates have fulfilled all the requirements pertaining to the degree. I therefore request that you admit them thereto.
On the authority of the Senate, I will now admit the candidates to the degrees and confer upon them all of the rights, responsibilities, and privileges which belong thereto. I call upon them, on the hearing of their name, to present themselves before me and to assume the hood appropriate to the degree.
For the degree of Master of Arts, Rebecca Daisy Elizabeth Brushett.
Rebecca Daisy Elizabeth Brushett is from Norris Point.
Leanna Jewel Butters.
Leanna Jewel Butters is from Toronto, Ontario.
ABM Enamal Hassan.
ABM Enamal Hassan is from Comilla, Bangladesh.
Zainab Adepeju Ibrahim.
Zainab Adepeju Ibrahim is from Ibifun, Nigeria.
Sylvester Keonga.
Sylvester Keonga is from Lusaka, Zambia.
Sophie Lenoble.
Sophie Lenoble is from Vancouver, British Columbia.
Abigail Opung.
Abigail Opung is from Kumasi, Ghana.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Education, Nicole Renee Bailey.
Nicole Renee Bailey is from Grand Falls, Windsor.
Jennifer Claire Broadbent.
Jennifer Claire Broadbent is from Corner Brook.
Maria Coleman.
Maria Coleman is from Corner Brook.
Nathalie Dawn Dara.
Nathalie Dawn Dara is from Kippens.
Nathan Darren Hines.
Nathan Darren Hines is from Benoit's Cove.
Mary Murphy.
Mary Murphy is from Doyle's.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
Admitted in absentia.
For the degree of Master of Science in Boreal Ecosystems and Agricultural Sciences. Muhammad Zaim.
Muhammad Zaim is from Corner Brook.
And those who have been approved by the Senate for the degree but are absent from this convocation.
We are waiting for all the graduates to come back into the room so we congratulate you all together. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating Memorial University's newest alumni, the graduates of 2018. I'd like now to invite the Provost and Vice President, Dr. Noreen Golfman, to introduce the Professor Emeritus.
Madam Chancellor, the title of Professor Emeritus or Professor Emerita is a distinction accorded to retired members of faculty. To be eligible, a person must normally have served at least 10 years as a regular full-time faculty member and have held the rank of professor upon retirement. The prime criteria for nomination are a sustained and superlative record as a scholar, as a teacher, or as an academic administrator, or any combination of these. Dr. Olaf Johnson was professor of historical studies at Grenfell Campus for 37 years. He began in 1980 at what was then Sir Wilfrid Grenfell College as a lecturer, followed by steady promotions until his retirement from Grenfell Campus with the rank of professor in 2017. Dr. Jansen earned his BA summa cum laude from McMaster University and his MA and PhD from Queen's University. During his career, he became a Fellow of the Royal Historical Society and was a member of numerous scholarly organizations. He remains active in the maritime historical community at the provincial, national, and international levels. His research interests have focused on 18th century Newfoundland, with particular attention to French and Mi'kmaq settlement on the West Coast, the defense of Newfoundland in war and in peace, and the role of cartography in exercising British sovereignty in Newfoundland throughout the 18th century. He served 2 maritime journals as a book review editor for more than 20 years. He presented frequently at regional and international scholarly conferences and published in numerous academic journals. Thousands of students, scholars, and genealogists the world over have consulted his online reader's guide to the history of early modern Newfoundland, as well as his finding aids to 18th century Newfoundland manuscript collections. Madam Chancellor, I present to you for the distinction of Professor Emeritus Olaf Jansen.
We shall now proceed to the conferring of the degree honoris causa.
For the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, Anne Martin Matthews.
Madam Chancellor, brain science researchers asked in Scientific American why older people perceive time as moving more quickly than younger people do, noted that we have 2 ways of viewing time, prospectively and retrospectively, or during an event and looking back at past events. They argue that it is the comparative fullness of our retrospective record of new learning and first-time experiences that makes prospective time seem to move more quickly as we settle into routines and get older. But what of those who never settle into routines? As a researcher, Dr. Anne Martin Matthews has studied numerous aspects of aging from a variety of viewpoints, and thus has constantly encoded new experiences. Furthermore, as she stated in a lecture she gave at the University of Waterloo earlier this year, she has reconsidered some of her earlier research in light of her own experience of the life events she has studied. Thus, in her research on aging, Dr. Martin Matthews uses retrospection prospectively, creating a cycle of new learning that knits together retrospection and experience, the personal and the academic. In fact, Dr. Martin Matthews started revisiting her own research at the very beginning of her career. In a paper produced while she was still a graduate student, Dr. Martin Matthews looked back at a study she had conducted 5 years previously to re-examine the data and consider a previously unexplored question in light of new theoretical perspectives. Even at this early point, that is, Dr. Martin Matthews consciously merged prospective and retrospective vision. One can claim that Dr. Martin Matthews has been consistently future-oriented in her work on aging. as founding director of the Gerontology Research Center at the University of Guelph, and as director of the Canadian Institutes of Health Research's Institute of Aging, she worked to develop new connections between the social sciences and humanities and the medical sciences, as well as between researchers and policymakers. It was undoubtedly due to her success in CIHR's Institute of Aging that Dr. Martin Matthews was asked to become Acting Vice President for Research, Knowledge Translation, and Ethics at CIHR last year. Her insistence on the need to look both forward and backward is nowhere more apparent than in the development under her leadership of the Canadian Longitudinal Study on Aging at CIHR. In this project, more than 50,000 Canadians will be studied over a period of at least 20 years, providing an unparalleled record of human experience over time. She has been described as the strategic champion of the longitudinal study, providing, and I quote, time, energy, strategic thinking, persuasive communication, and political guidance to get the necessary funding and connections in place. Dr. Martin Matthews has received numerous grants, written numerous studies and articles, some of them with her husband, Dr. Ralph Matthews, and has given presentations and participated in organizations and activities across the globe. She's been recognized for her research through election as a Fellow of the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences and as a Fellow of the Gerontological Society of America, among many other awards that include the Queen's Golden and Diamond Jubilee medals. She has also been recognized for another aspect of prospective vision, her mentoring of new researchers. The Canadian Association of Gerontology presented her with an award for excellence in student mentoring, and CIHR created the Anne Martin Matthews Doctoral Research Prize for Excellence in Research on Aging to honor her work as a mentor. The significance of her achievements in her field was further validated last year when Dr. Martin Matthews was named an Officer of the Order of Canada for her, and I quote, extensive research contributions to gerontology, notably in implementing the Canadian Longitudinal Study on Aging. In her lecture at Waterloo this spring, Dr. Martin Matthews said, I have become what I have spent my lifetime studying, a senior citizen. This designation, however, clearly does not mean that we can expect her to take up full-time gardening and making Irish soda bread. Senior citizen is just a new perspective from which she can look both forward to participating in her own research and back to reconsider it. And while she knits gifts for her friends, we can be confident that she is also creating the fabric of knowledge. For her work on a topic of significance to us all, Madam Chancellor, I present for the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, Anne Martin Matthews.
Entrusted to me, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Congratulations.
In the formation of research and policy on aging in Canada. She has served as founding director of the Gerontology Research Center, University of Guelph, director of the School of Family and Nutritional Sciences, University of British Columbia, and scientific director of the Institute of Aging of the Canadian Institutes of Health Research. Recently, Dr. Martin Matthews returned to UBC following a 14-month secondment as Acting Vice President, Research, Knowledge, Translation, and Ethics for CIHR.
Dr. Martin Matthews, may I now call upon you to address Convocation.
Madam Chancellor, members of the Platform Party, special guests, and particularly graduates and your families and friends. Ever since Memorial University asked me to address you today, I've thought about the perspective that a social gerontologist, a sociologist of aging, might bring to your convocation today. Despite all that you hear about population aging as a catastrophe for society, one of humanity's greatest successes has been the doubling of life expectancy in the last 200 years. That is an extraordinary societal achievement. Just 100 years ago, average life expectancy in the Western world was 50 years, although we know that some individuals live longer than that. But in Canada today, average life expectancy at birth is 80 years for women and is 84 years for women and 80 years for men. But you are definitely going to live longer than that. You've already survived to, let's say, looking at you, an average of about 25 years of age or so. You have a university education. So you women can expect to live an average of 60 more years, and men about 55 more years of life. Some of you will reach much older ages even than that. 20-year-olds today are 3 times more likely to reach age 100 than your grandparents did, and twice as likely as your parents. A girl born in 2011 has a 1 in 3 chance of living to her 100th birthday, and a boy has a 1 in 4 chance. The future, your future, is aging indeed. But let's be conservative and figure out that we even live to age 80 or 85, that's an estimated 29,000 to 31,000 days of our lives. Comparatively few of those days are particularly memorable for most of us. Today, of course, is one in which you can bask in the glow of your accomplishments and say, I will remember this day. But what of the days ahead? They loom long into the distance. So many days, so many possibilities. The Canadian writer Margaret Laurence wrote in her 1974 novel, The Diviners, describing her lead character, Morag Gunn, as Morag heads off to university. Morag, on her way, on the night train to everywhere, that's a capital E, on the night train to everywhere, Morag Gunn, swifting into life. Several years later, a wiser Morag, age 28, and her university days over, heads west. And Laurence describes her, once again, going into everywhere, where anything can happen. Part of her still believes in the everything out there. Of course, we are all products of our time. In studying age differences, gerontologists also consider cohort and period effects, the impact of the historical period of time within which each of us is born and raised. Unlike the Morag Gunn of decades ago, you today have a far greater sense of the everywhere out there, thanks to globalization, telecommunication, the internet, and social media. You may also feel rather skeptical about the notion of going into everywhere where anything may happen, given some of the economic challenges of our times, trade wars, social inequalities, and political uncertainties, to be frank. But whether this everywhere metaphor works for you or not, this is a day of transition for many of you, where you head into a future different from what your life has been as a student of Memorial University. As you approach this swifting into your future, what might be learned from people who have already been there, who have, by and large, lived their futures? Older people can teach us much about the living of our own days. We can learn from them in 2 ways. We can learn from the regrets that people have, the things they wish they had done or had done differently. As one 85-year-old woman said, If I had my life to live over again, I'd dare to make more mistakes next time. I would perhaps have more actual troubles, but I'd have fewer imaginary ones. I'd live my life in moments, one after the other, instead of living so many years ahead of each day. But we can also learn from what it means to age well, sometimes and controversially called successful aging. Many of the oldest old, now aged 85 and over, have lived through very challenging times: World War, famine, displacement, economic depression, and demonstrate what the sociologist Mika Lowe calls stubborn resilience. Many older people talk about the process of growing into oneself as they face adversity and changes as they age. Those who age well consistently emphasize the importance of social connection. And I wrote that before the Vice President spoke earlier today. They emphasize the importance of social connection. Research has found that among older people, and this seems a little counterintuitive, but the statement is, the key to protecting autonomy is asking for assistance when you really need it. Now, this means two things: knowing when you need help from others and having the social connections to do so. I emphasize this because even though your social worlds may have hundreds of friends and likes on Facebook, the experience of going solo is more prevalent today than ever before. The rise of one-person households is a significant global demographic change. Some consider it another great social achievement, especially for women. Modern communications enable those who live alone to be connected and engaged with others. Living alone does not necessarily equate with being lonely, although there is now a Ministry of Loneliness in the United Kingdom concerned about isolated elders living alone. But research suggests that living alone can make it difficult to develop and sustain personal, rather than virtual, social connections, especially when combined with insecure or erratic work careers, or working off-site or working from home. Countless studies of aging note the importance of having at least one good friend. This is a characteristic of those who age well. When I was a graduate student in Hamilton, Ontario, my landlady was such a person. Mrs. E, as I called her, lived alone for many years, but took in student boarders like me. With no living family members, she became adept at developing friendships. When Mrs. E died at the age of 86, the majority of us at her funeral were friends she had made after the age of 70. Think about that. Friends she'd made after the age of 70. What a testament to her openness and ability to connect with people. There is much that we can learn from those who have lived life and who have remained vital, inquisitive, and engaged well into deep old age. Let us not permit ageism to blind us to the ways in which we can learn from older people as we negotiate the days of our own lives. Let me make one more observation about your future days. In the future, you may be inclined to look back on Memorial University as a place that touched your lives at a point in the increasingly distant past. But you should not feel that way. The research on aging being done at Memorial University now will continue long after your graduation and will shape your days, your future days, in ways that none of us can imagine. I refer here to the work of Memorial University researchers studying seniors' mental health, the development of age-friendly communities in Newfoundland and Labrador, falls prevention, assistive technologies, the home care workforce for older people, the role of music in long-term care facilities, and palliative and end-of-life care in rural areas, among many other examples and topics. The Canadian longitudinal study has been mentioned. This study has a research site here in Newfoundland and Labrador, as it follows over 50,000 residents for 20 years to examine changing biological, medical, psychological, social, lifestyle, and economic aspects of people's lives as they age. 4,200 people in this province participate in the CLSA and are being tested every 3 years to help identify the factors that shape healthy aging. Memorial University researchers collaborating with policymakers and practitioners in this province will soon, I hope, benefit from the establishment of a Newfoundland and Labrador Centre for Studies on Aging. This will be a wonderful resource for this province, and bravo to all who've been involved in the process. Now, on your graduation day, you may wonder, does this research on aging have anything to do with you? Of course it does. It will contribute to the health and quality of life of your parents, your grandparents, friends, neighbors, communities, and one day, you yourself. And right here in this province, the Canadian province with the highest proportion of older people in its population, initiatives rising from this research may well impact employment and career opportunities for you in the years ahead. So today, you take leave of your Memorial University professors and student peers, and they of you. But through the application of research and knowledge, your paths will remain strongly linked with Memorial University in the years ahead. And I don't just mean when the alumni office contacts you. For those of you who are from Newfoundland or feel that you now belong to Newfoundland, I encourage you to honor these roots. This is a special place, and please don't forget that. I recall how full my heart was at my graduation from Memorial University 47 years ago, knowing that I was leaving soon to go to graduate school on the mainland. I did not know then that I would not return to live here permanently, though I did marry a Newfoundlander, and I have come back countless times, often for long stretches of time, almost every year since. I took it as a tremendous compliment when my mother said of me, shortly before she died, "Anne left Newfoundland, but Newfoundland never left her." Please do not ever lose the Newfoundland in you. Congratulations to all of you today, and best wishes as you go, as Margaret Lawrence said, swifting into life, on your way to your own unique everywhere where anything can happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Martin, for your words to us today, especially to the graduates, but they apply to everybody in the room and give us new ways of looking at things. Thank you very much. And we have now come to the end of this part of our new graduates' special day. And as Dr. Martin mentioned, you are now alumni of Memorial University, and we hope you continue to be interested in Memorial, whether you're here or not. It is a day of looking back. We've already been doing that, looking back and looking forward. So I just wish you the very best for yourselves, for you to work with others, form community wherever you are, in your workplace or in your own communities, because we are wonderful and can be wonderful and resourceful and helpful in ourselves, but when we are working with others in community, everything is multiplied, and the world needs that, and I know you have it to bring. So we look forward to hearing about you in your future endeavors, and I hope you kept some little nugget of today, and you mightn't even have found it yet. That is your special cameo to remember this remarkable day in your life of achievement. So I would like you to stand so we can all congratulate you again. And now I'd like to offer our new graduates an opportunity to turn and do the very same thing for all these folks who have been your champions, most of you from birth, but from wherever they came into your lives. Let's say thank you to your supporters. So we wish you a very happy rest of your day. We are going to close Convocation now with the singing of all 4 verses of the Ode to Newfoundland, which you'll find in your program. And I haven't ever said this before at a Grenfell Convocation, but I'm going to say it today. I would like to give thanks for the fellow who's playing the piano over there for you, who Dr. Gary Graham has, well, I'd like to see the scroll that was able to accommodate all his accomplishments and his contributions. But Dr. Gary Graham has given so much, and he's just such a joy, and I hope you'll forgive me. He is going to lead us in all 4 verses of the Ode to Newfoundland, and then I'd ask that you remain in your places while the platform party leaves the auditorium. Thank you.
Smiling man.
The colorful gowns worn by members of the academic procession are representative of the different universities from which faculty members and administrators obtained their doctorates. Memorial University's academic dress, including the distinctive scarlet-colored honorary doctorate robe, is modeled on University of Oxford gowns which originated centuries ago as clerical gowns.
Most universities design their own gowns. Many North American doctoral gowns feature velvet facings and 3 horizontal stripes on each sleeve in the color of the university. Students receiving their doctoral degrees from Memorial wear the scarlet satin and claret cloth gown, together with the doctor's bonnet, which is modeled on the Oxford doctor's bonnet.
Those receiving bachelor's and master's degrees wear plain black gowns similar in design to the scholar's gown of the University of Oxford. The hats worn by these individuals are black mortarboards with black tassels.